friends, and welcome back to Belle's Books. I am so happy to see you and I'm so glad you're here watching my videos. Thank you so much for clicking on it, and I hope you enjoy my review of The Farm by Joanne Ramos. So today I'm obviously going to be reviewing this book, but before we get started, please do grab a cup of tea, sit somewhere cozy and just sit down for some fun book chat. You might notice I've changed up the vibes in here, added some plants, created a bit more of a setting, and that's just because I have been so motivated and excited recently, and I think that it's because it's spring. Like, finally it's starting to feel a little bit more summery and I'm like dressing for spring. So yeah, I'm just so excited that it's finally not rainy and cold all the time, and I just have so much more energy than usual. So yeah, we're going to be talking about The Farm by Joanne Ramos today. If you haven't read it, don't worry, this is a spoiler-free book review and I hope it convinces you to read it indeed. And if you have read it, let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are, whether or not you enjoyed it, all that good stuff. I'd absolutely love to hear from you. So to kick off, I would recommend this book to anyone who is interested in reading about race, immigration, poverty and morality in modern day America through a fictionalized, almost dystopian story. So I'll kick off with a little bit of a synopsis. Basically, The Farm is about a fictional surrogacy clinic in New York State where women are paid to have the children of wealthy women who don't want to have a pregnancy or who aren't able to have a pregnancy themselves. The story follows the perspective of a few different women in this situation who are all kind of caught up in the system. One of the women, May, runs the clinic itself and she's kind of in charge of everything. Another one, Jane, is a surrogate mother herself who also has a daughter of her own. So Jane is really the protagonist of the novel. She grew up in the Philippines and she immigrated to the United States where she works as a cleaner, as a nanny, and kind of basically does whatever jobs she can to keep herself and her daughter alive and healthy and well and thriving, etc. You also get to hear the perspective of a few other surrogate women in the story, so you get a real mix of the perspective and the voices that you're hearing. I called it a dystopia, and I think that it has been widely advertised as a dystopia, and it kind of is, but it isn't entirely dystopian in the way that you might think. So it's dystopian insofar as it's not reality currently, but I honestly don't think it's very far away at all from becoming reality. And I think it's much more kind of closer to realistic fiction because it is so plausible and it is so almost probable that it would happen in this way. So above all, it is a novel about class and race and about immigration to the United States. Why do women immigrate? What life awaits them after they have immigrated? How are they treated by their employers once they arrive? What do they use the money they earn for? Is it a better life that they were hoping for? Does that come to fruition, or is that just a myth? Is that almost like a legend? Is that ever possible for them? Ramos explores racial and social and class bias, as well as the morality of American society. And she kind of explores this idea of how you can toe the line of morality and immorality. What is moral and what is immoral? And how far can you push the boundaries and the limits of those ideas? So yeah, that's the basic synopsis and kind of summary about what you'd be getting into reading if you were to choose to read this book. There are a couple of trigger warnings, as this is a book about surrogacy and motherhood. You obviously have a lot of pregnancy in the book, so you have trigger warnings for miscarriages and abortion and conception and pregnancy, and nothing's described in great detail, but those are very much topics that the book kind of revolves around, and so if you kind of find those hard to read about, then this might not be the book for you. So now the fun part, I'm going to get into talking about my overall impression and my rating of this book. So I rated this book 4 stars, and I was thinking that I was going to rate it a 5 stars, but I found myself a little dissatisfied with the ending, which I will touch on, but I won't give any clues away, don't worry. There are a few different reasons it is a 4-star novel in my opinion. So first of all, the complexity of character is just incredible. My sympathies were constantly being torn towards different people, and nothing about the story or the people were black and white, so I really found myself kind of wrapped up in the book and excited to keep reading and very motivated to keep going and learn more about these people and uncover their backstories. I think she did an absolutely incredible job of really tugging on like my heartstrings and revealing information slowly, but not so slowly that my attention wandered. So the other thing I really liked about this book was how it told the story of a mother and different mothers really. I don't think I really read about motherhood that often, and this might be because I'm 21 and I in general just gravitate towards books with younger protagonists who aren't mothers. But for reading about characters who are mothers, I actually really enjoyed it, and I feel like it gave me a lot of perspective into what it was like to be a mother and the kind of love that you have for your children, which of course I have yet to experience, and so I really have no conceptualization of, apart from, you know, a really vague understanding of what that might be like. So I really loved reading about that perspective as well. And then my third point, and this is the reason why it is a 4 not a 5 star, is I wasn't entirely convinced by the ending. So obviously this is a fictional novel, but I was kind of expecting a kind of much darker ending. And knowing about America, I was honestly surprised that she didn't choose to go with a really like nihilistic kind of route with the ending and kind of make something really dramatic and dark and sinister happen. And there is this sort of inevitability and kind of cyclical nature about the ending itself, and you do get this sense of foreboding, which really carries you through the novel. So I'm not saying that the ending was necessarily positive and too bright and cheery and unrealistic, but I think I was just surprised by how the author chose the book to end. I won't say any more than that because I don't want to spoil it for you, but if you have read this book, please let me know in the comments what you thought of it. What did you think of the ending? And if you haven't read this book, go to the comments and tell me, will you read this book? Do you think you would like to read this book? Have I convinced you? Have you read anything like this? Could you give me any further recommendations for similar books? So just to wrap up, I have a couple of recommendations for you next, and these are books that I think that you would like if you read this and you enjoyed this. So first of all, The Vanishing Half by Britt Benet. So this tells the story of two twin sisters, one of whom looks white and the other of whom looks black. And they go on to leave the community they grew up in and kind of pursue very different lives, which are both shaped by their visible racial identities. The second book I think you might like is Three Women by Lisa Taddeo. So this is a true story, and it tells the story of 3 real American women talking about their sex lives as they grew up. And I think it was written and researched over a period of something like 10 years. So the stories are real and they really do follow these women throughout their lives in a great deal of detail. And the third recommendation I have is Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reid. And this tells the story of what happens after a young black babysitter is caring for a white child when a white woman accuses her of kidnapping that child, and the kind of repercussions for her life and for the community, and basically what happens after that. So yeah, thank you so much for watching until the end of the video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe for more content, and I just hope you have a fantastic day and a fantastic week. Bye!